All right, traders, this is going to be a very important in-depth price action analysis update on the stock market on the SPY. As you know, for the macro, we've been very bearish, buying put options, extremely short biased. This video is going to be covering the macro price action, but also the micro price action. And the question is, for the micro, for the short term, are we about to see a bear trap where the bears get trapped and the SPY ends up spiking throughout the week, then it crashes? Or are we going to see another key breakdown bull trap where the SPY gets crushed and goes into the low 420s? This video is going to help you identify where the short-term price action is heading, along with the macro, the longer-term, mid-term price action as well. It's going to give you a better understanding on the key levels to be trading at and how to react to those key levels, right? So when to be bullish, when to buy the call options, when to be bearish, when to short, when to buy the put options. Let's get right into this in-depth price action analysis, and make sure you stay to the end, because I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a very important lesson, as we are now trading at a key critical level that's either going to be make it or break it. So let's get right into this in-depth price action analysis. So in terms of the SPY, you guys are well aware, if you've been following the channel, we had this key support level at 456 to 457 with massive upside. Once that cracked and turned into resistance, the same goes for this level as well. It had a big downside move, and that's where the bears really stepped in for that whole macro crash key breakdown. And with that being said, the SPY bottomed in the 420s, it ripped back up, and then it turned this previous support into a resistance level right around here on this day. Ever since that occurred, that is that great confirmation that the bears are in complete control for the macro side of the move, the longer term side of the trade, because it cracked this key support level, had a major crash, spiked back up for the micro, which is the short term, and then that spike is simply confirming that that previous support is now resistance, which is bearish, meaning over time, eventually, SPY should crack the 420s. Now, in order for that to happen, let's go over the progress that the SPY has been making in terms of the macro crash. Then we're going to get into the micro. So you can see right here, there was, key resistance right here, which turned into key support. And then once it turned into key support, it ripped back up to 457, that key level we were talking about. Well, right here is when the bears stepped in for the macro once again, when we turn this key support level right here, that was previous resistance, back into resistance on this day. And then we had the hard sell-off on Friday. And then in terms of today, we dropped into the higher 425s. In terms of pre-market, it basically hit pre-market lows, double bottom, and then it started ripping into the close. So we're seeing major progress in terms of the macro, because we've turned 457 into resistance. We turned this key support level into resistance, which was at $444. And now here's what is currently occurring. This level right here is going to be that new key level support level. The previous one was at $444. This is going to be your new level right here. 435.50, right? So understand what it is that I'm doing. I'm looking at these key levels, right? This right here, this is a key level. This 457, this is a key level. This 444, big downside potential. Well, once it turned into support, big upside potential. 444, that is a key level. What is going to be our next key level for the micro and for the SPY to really get crushed in attempt to go back and crack 420? It is going to be this level right here, $435.50, where SPY recently had a massive move up for the short term all the way to 448. So here's what I want you to understand moving forward. 435 is your make it or break it level. If you see the SPY start to break out, react as a support level, it's looking bullish, it's doing a good job of holding above 435, this is going to be on track to have a micro bull run within a few days of that positive reaction. If we get strong confirmations on the daily, into power hour, it will be on track to fill this gap. There's a gap to fill at $446.60, which would be the absolute best price to buy put options, on the SPY. That would be the best price to play for the gap close reversal. Now, in order for that to happen, in order to see that shift, 435 has to turn into a bullish confirmation on the daily chart, on the 1-day candle. It has to hold up. It has to look very, very bullish. It has to continue to run. Now, for the micro, for the bears to remain in complete control, what we really need to see happen is for true strength, it needs to stay below 432. That's what needs to happen for true strength. If not, then it must stay under 435. Otherwise, we are going to see a major shift in reversal. So if the SPY can continue to stay under 435 to 432, if it can continue to do that, it is going to be on track for another pullback. How low will the pullback be? A nice pullback to 426. Once it can turn 429 into hard resistance and crack 426, that is when we're going to see a nice pullback all the way to 421 to 422. So that's the both sides of the spectrum. That's what I want you to understand. For the bulls to really show true strength, they need to rip this back up to 435 and quickly turn it into support. Otherwise, SPY is going to fall off a cliff. It's going to head back to 426 to 429 very, very quickly. So I just want you to understand this is what can potentially happen in terms of how the chart is looking. SPY cracked this key support level right here. So here, let me just explain this real quick so this makes sense. See how there's support right here at a 444 with big upside potential. Once it cracks, it bottoms out at 435. Then it rips back up to your previous support level, right? Turns it into resistance, which is bearish. Then it cracks. And then see how today it pops back up to that previous support. So that same trend is occurring. That same trend, that same pattern is occurring where SPY cracks support, goes lower, pops back up. The high of the pop is the previous support, right? That is now turned into a new lower high, new resistance. The same thing is currently occurring. This is now the second day in a row where we've seen 435 turn into hard resistance in terms of how does this bearish candlestick look on the daily. It's not the most bearish candlestick, but this is a great confirmation that it is favoring the bears for the micro because it is turning. I mean, the high of day is literally the low right here. That is a very bearish confirmation. That basically means that the pop that it had today is simply confirming that previous support is now a resistance. It's now a new lower high, meaning SPY has to go lower. So that's what it's currently looking like. But what I'm telling you is we will see a major shift in a trend reversal if SPY can turn 435 into a support level, start holding up. It will be on track to rip back up to 448. But if not, and it just maintains under 435, for true strength for bears, they need to stay under 432. That's like for the true strength. If they can do that, we're going to see a hard sell. So that's my thoughts. That's my analysis on it. As of now, in terms of the chart, it is reacting as simply as turning your previous support into resistance, which is very, very bearish for the micro. In terms of the macro, either way, this is going to crash. Your macro confirmations are so confirmed for the macro that we have so much more downside coming for the SPY and for stocks. For the macro, I personally think SPY will go to at least $390. That's going to be quite some time though. But yeah, that's where we're currently at. That's where I currently stand. I had some, I had a couple trades today. Ended up doing a lucid put using the strategy, the gap close reversal strategy. Did a lucid put right here. Initially, I was up a little bit, then I got squeezed, cut it very quickly. Bought the contracts at 129, got out at $1.11, took a very, very small loss. And then of course it crashed, right? In terms of one of the mistakes I made on that trade is I didn't wait for the gap to completely fill. I got in as soon as this bearish confirmation came in, but the gap didn't fill. It almost filled. So, I mean, with that being said, no regrets though. I did end up making a very, very big trade today. The position size wasn't that big. It was a big win because of the percentage return. I had SPY puts and it was 149% return, right? Like that was insane. I still have a couple of those left, but I sold the majority for profit. I'm still holding a couple of those. But that was killer. I mean, that was like making basically 6 months of rent, in like a couple of hours, like not too long. But yeah, that was killer. And I was giving, decent commentary, decent updates throughout the chat today. It was a little tricky overall. And like I said, I'm only going to be alerting my best trades. So if I'm going to take a trade and I feel like it's just not the best, it doesn't meet my standards, then I'm not going to alert it. But I'll always give you my commentary, whether I'm bullish or bearish in a situation. Like, I'll always give you the commentary and the stock analysis. And then if I feel like it's going to be an amazing trade, then I'll alert it. So I'm looking to alert 8 to 12 of the best setups. But yeah, we had some people do very, very well. This guy, he's been consistently crushing it. Big shout out to him. Literally made his rent for the year, on the day. Like, he's absolutely crushing it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. We have some people in here having 5-figure days. I've seen it. We have some big traders in here for sure, like over 6 figures. But with that being said, that's just the update that I wanted to give you guys on the SPY. And you can use that with stocks that follow the SPY, right? So you don't have to just trade the SPY. You can use that with the stocks that follow the SPY. But I mean, that's where we're at. It's either make it or break it. The bulls don't have much time. They need to turn 435 into support. If they can't do it, SPY is going to go to 426, then within some time crack 426, and then have a rug pull to 421. It's either make it or break it here for bulls and bears in terms of the traps. It's going to be an interesting battle. It could be something like this where we just go sideways a little bit and then it just ramps up. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Another thing to keep in mind is in terms of this, pattern, you can see right here, you have 3 red days, then it gaps up the next day. You have 3 red days. So we'll see. And it is currently having a small gap up. I mean, that could change within a heartbeat with the way that, futures have been moving lately. But it is having a small gap up. It closed at 429.57. It's having a small gap up. So it's going to be interesting. We could potentially see something where it just trades sideways, rips up, or it just gaps up, and then it just keeps on going for the micro, then it gets crushed. Either way, though, there's going to be some phenomenal opportunities. So yeah, we'll see. 435 is going to be that key level, that key make it or break it level. I shared with you guys the price action both ways in the key levels and what to look for heading into tomorrow in terms of bulls and bears and weakness and strength to look for at key critical levels. And that's my thoughts. Huge shout out to those of you who played the OCGM puts. We had one guy play the OCGM puts held. He went with like the March 4th. Every single time the stock gaps up, it tends to literally fill the gap below the same day. They just had an offering. This got absolutely crushed. Someone got in on those before close. Huge shout out to that. But yeah, overall, definitely a crazy, wild day. Not as easy as it seems, but I did end up coming out on top with that trade. And with that being said, we'll see how this pans out tomorrow, whether I'm going to be, we'll see whether it's just got to keep determining, keep getting more confirmations on whether it's going to be a micro bull trap or, a micro bear trap. We got to see. As of now, it's leaning more on the micro bull trap, that the bulls are going to get trapped. For the macro, they're definitely getting trapped. But in order for them to not get trapped, they need to quickly, turn 435 into support. That is key. If not, then it's going to fall off a cliff. So that's what I want you to understand about SPY. If 435 breaks out, holds, turns into support, you're looking at a run to 446 gap fill, which would be the best price to short. For the bears to remain in true strength, true control, ideally stay under 432, but it just needs to stay under 435. If it can keep staying under 435, SPY will fall off a cliff within some time. So yeah, that's going to be the price action analysis updates for the day. For those of you who are interested in, joining Trader Society, that is going to be the first link in the description down below. Make sure you read everything to understand what's included, if it's going to be the right program for you. You get to trade live with me every single day at Market Open. You get access to the chat room. You get access to the one-on-one direct messaging within the chat room. You can message me personally. That's the only place where you guys can contact me personally. I'm not on any social media besides this. And, you also get access to the video lesson library where you get to learn the trading strategies, the price action, the stock analysis, the risk management, the psychology of the trading. And let's keep crushing it, guys. Let's keep, consistently doing well within this market. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the SPY reacts to this 432 to 435 level. Once we get more confirmations, I'm going to be entering another day to swing trade. So we'll see how this pans out. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this overall reacts, and I'm looking forward to that. So other than that, that's mainly going to be it. Mainly going to be focused on the SPY at the moment. and then a couple other stocks on my radar that I'll be sharing within the chat room. And I will see you guys within Trader Society. For those of you in, I will see you tomorrow live at market open. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out within the chat. And until then, I'll see you guys soon.